Hello there YouTubers, welcome back to my channel Workshop Fun. Today I'm going to give everyone a guided tour through my workshop. I haven't done that in quite a long time, so I thought it's about time I did. I've been restoring and cleaning up and fixing some fairly old vintage machinery, and it's been over a couple of years I think since I did a tour through my little workshop. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start from the beginning of the workshop through the entrance and then work my way back to the back of the shed, which is where the bandsaw and the disc sander is. So I'll start off today with my old table saw. This here is a table saw that I purchased down in Taupo, and it was in very bad order. There is a video of me restoring this table saw on YouTube already. If you want to see that, you're welcome to check that out. This table saw is made by a company called Ace. I can't say I've seen another one here in New Zealand. It's extremely rare, and it's made of solid cast. Now, when it comes to doing woodwork, the thing I like about this table saw is the fact that you can do precision cutting. You have this very fine adjusting for the fence, so when you're running your wood past the blade, you can cut off tiny little slithers. It's very, very handy for precision work. Excuse me. Now, that's the table saw. It has a 3/4 horse motor. It's a British made motor. I've forgotten the brand of it, but I pulled that out and cleaned it all out at one point and restored it. As you can see, unfortunately it's still getting some wood dust in through the motor, so sometime I have to sort of figure out how that's happening and sort it out. I did create the chute above the motor and basically got all the main debris that used to fall straight onto the motor off the motor, but somehow or other something's still getting through. I think it's coming from the V-belt. The dust is feeding its way down the belt and getting into the motor that way, so I may have to do a bit more sealing off. The cabinet that the table saw is on is actually a Dico cabinet, I believe, from looking at other Dico tools, and the table saw has been made to fit on it, or more to the point, the cabinet has been made to allow the table saw to fit on it. Somebody ran an extra bar across here so the table saw could bolt on, and they put 2 tabs of right angle out on the side. Now, when I got this table saw, as I said, it was a mess. It was missing its big thumb screws. There was just bolts there in its place. It looked really bad. So my grandfather turned around and, basically being my very kind grandfather that he is, he turned around and machined 2 of these, one on this side and one over here. It's all very tidily done, and he also machined this one. So that was a way to fix that. And this used to only take a 8-inch blade. It couldn't fit the 8 1/4, which is the more modern day blade. So I was able to quite easily modify this to take the 8 1/4 inch blade. It was so over-engineered that to shave a couple of mils of steel off the area where the blade fits into was nothing. It is very, very solid, this table saw, so I did that, and ever since then I've been able to just go up the street now and buy a modern day blade and put it straight in. I like to use the very fine blades with the carbide tips. Just chops through the wood like it's butter, and it also is very fine and very precise. So that's what I use on the table saw. Right, now I'll move over to my drill press. It's about the only main machine in the shop that isn't vintage. It's still old, but it's not vintage. This is a Japanese built one, but it's extremely solid. The only problem I had with it was when I first brought it, it had a little half horse motor on it. Anyway, I took that off, sold it, and put this 1 horse CMG motor on it. It's a really good motor, haven't had any problem with it. The only thing I had to modify was I got the pulley machined out to take the shaft for the bigger motor. The shaft on the smaller motor was smaller too. Sometimes you get lucky and they have the right size shaft, and other times you're not so lucky. When I got this drill press, it was in really bad shape too. This top cap here was all beat up. The hinge was broken, so I turned around and put these hinges on it. This actually underneath the paint is actually wood bogged into it, and the hinges are screwed straight into those wooden things, wooden brackets on the tin pressed cover. The handle was also broken, so I turned around and made this stainless steel arm and screwed it in. That took a lot of work, but that's all done now, and it's been going great ever since. And I just bought this cheap drill press vise. It works well. Right, moving on to my wood lathe. This is a Myford ML8, I believe. I'm not quite certain. I think it was an ML8. Once again, bought it. It was in terrible shape. You'll find a video of that on YouTube. It's a picture video of me restoring it. Just heaps of pictures all joined together to show you the sequence and how it was restored. But yeah, it was in just terrible shape. There was really nothing good about it. The bearings were stuffed. It was missing bits. Just basically everything was bad. Even the main shaft that goes through here and holds the chuckle or faceplate was in really bad order. The threads had been hacksawed down. So once again, my grandfather came to the rescue and put some more threads on the existing shaft, and turned around and we were able to fix that. And I bought new bearings, and I turned around and fitted them in and fitted the shaft back in and did all kinds of things. My granddad lovingly made this up too. It was for the outfeed, which I do use, so that was really nice of my grandfather. I turned around and bought this not long ago. It's a Morse Taper 1 fitting. That's what this takes, and that just fits into there, so when I'm boring out things it's very handy. I also have a live centre. When I brought this, the motor that was in it was only a 1/4 horse, which is just ridiculous in a wood lathe. So anyway, I turned around and got a Metropolitan Vicar 1 horse and fitted that in. You can see it down there. It's a pretty decent sort of donk for this little lathe. Certainly will do everything that this lathe can handle. And the other thing that I put on it is 2-inch square solid steel bars all the way across the bottom, and that gives it some more bottom weight. Because the stand is wooden, it can be a bit light, so that's another handy addition to the stand. But the stand was completely overhauled. It was ripped to bits too, and quite a lot was thrown off it. Like, it's got a new top on it now. The new motor holder that's all new. It's got brand new stainless hinges, or they're not brand new now, but it was new at the time. And it's all just, I've totally re-engineered it and made it way stronger to what it was. And then later on I also put this tool holder across the side. So that's handy for my other woodwork projects. Bear in mind, in this workshop I also do a lot of metalwork as well. So the drill press comes into my metalwork side of things, and so does the welder. That's the next thing I'll show you people. This welder is a very old South African oil-filled welder. You can see me restoring it on YouTube as well. There's several videos, and I built this electric chair, I call it, just to be comical, and the welder sits on that and the rectifier sits underneath. Now that rectifier is a Apex New Zealand rectifier. It's a 100 amp, and that transfers the AC current to the DC current. And I have a couple of huge cables going up the back of this chair and up to here, and when I want to do DC welding I just use those two terminals there for the electrode lead and the earth lead, and then the leads for the rectifier are here, and they just hook up onto the welder. So that's another very old vintage bit of machinery done up, and it's very rare to find oil cooled welder at all, but I've been using it a lot now, welding thicker steel, so just doing straight AC welding, and it's been going very, very good for me, so I've got no complaints with it. And I think the chair that I made looks quite neat with it. So yeah, that's all that done. The other thing I built over quite a long period of time was this bandsaw and disc sander combo. This was probably one of my harder undertakings. The bandsaw needed an incredible amount of work. It had actually never ever been finished from what I can tell. It was not missing bits, the bits had never been put on it. I believe a farmer bought this thing as a bare cast and then just set it up very roughly to cut meat for him. So anyway, when I got it, it had no shaft through here, it had no blade guides, it had nothing. So once again, my grandfather and I teamed up on this, and we got stuck in and did a lot of work on it. So I have to give my grandfather a lot of thanks in these things that I've done too. And we got the bandsaw up and running, but then later on I wanted to put the disc sander on as well. So how this was originally laid out, you'll see in some of my pictures on YouTube as well and videos, is the motor that powered the bandsaw was where the disc sander is currently. Well, after a couple of years of it being like that, I changed my mind and I bought a motor, this Repulsion induction motor here, which is 91 years old, and I bought this alloy disc for it and set that up where the bandsaw's motor was, and that's now my disc sander. And then I turn around and the motor for the bandsaw now sits underneath, and that's a Century motor, and the motor for the disc sander is a GE motor, so they're both American, which is quite hard to find out here in New Zealand. So I turned around and started reinforcing the table to take the Century motor down underneath, and also made a junction box here for the two motors to go in, the power source to go into one and then out into the mains, or into this plug here. so I can plug both of them in at the same time. All that's simply underneath this wooden box, or inside this wooden box, sorry, is a double plug where the plugs go into, and then they come out, or then a lead comes out with just the one. So it saves bogging up plugs with heaps of machinery. So that was all done. I'll try and stand back and give everybody a good view of that. It's quite hard to fit into the camera, but yeah, that's the bandsaw and disc sander combo. Been very handy so far, especially the disc sander. Now I'll move on to my latest project, and that's the centerpiece of the workshop. This here is my vice stand and grinding wheel. It's nearly complete. What I've been doing lately is I bought it. It was in poor order. Well, the stand was just quite rough looking, but it needed a paint job, and it needed some tidying up and a few other bits, so I've done that now. The last thing I had to do to it was put an on and off switch on it and make the tool rest, so that's all done now. I built the new motor holder for the stand, and I also secured a new 1/2 horsepower motor onto the stand, or old. New for the stand, but it's an old motor in really good order. So that was a lot of work. Fortunately, I had the grinding wheel given to me by a friend. The switch I found on TradeMe. It sort of suits the era of the stand. This little tool rest, I made that. It seems to be working really nicely. So all up, that's all worked out really well. So it's good to have that as a combo as well. Now the grinding wheel, that's just welded straight to the stand and then fed into it with a bit of bog. Reason why I did that is because I can't see any need to ever remove it. When you want to service this thing and replace the bearings, you just simply knock the shaft out through here, and then you can get the bearings out. First of all, you've got to undo the grinding wheel and a few other bits though, of course, and that's all accessible from this end. So it's welded on there as a permanent fixture now, and the vice is just bolted on and locked down really tight. So that's about all for now. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did like it, please hit the like, and if you wish to, please subscribe, and hopefully soon I'll be getting back into some more bowls and stuff on the wood lathe. Thank you very much. Bye for now.